The cost of living in Australia continues to go up and up and up, and it seems like at the moment the most expensive place you can take your girlfriend to eat is actually the egg aisle at Woolies. And with interest rate rises and the housing market going crazy, there still seems to be one company that continues to grow despite all of this. And the company I'm referring to is Amazon. Now, I know some of you might have heard when Amazon first started in Australia and how everyone said it was a total collapse and how their sales were extremely low. But what you might not have realized is the way that Amazon works is when they get into a new country, they start to set their roots in really deep and they start to roll out the fulfillment centers and get the infrastructure ready, and then they start to rank up the marketing, rank up the service, and it just grows and grows and grows. And now this year they're looking at moving towards $5.5 billion in sales. I'm very sure you've seen lots of these popping up all over the place wherever you go to do your groceries, and very soon you're going to see Amazon specific trucks being rolled out as they start to deliver their own goods more and more across the country. And when Amazon first rolled out in America, there was this golden age of when you could sell anything on Amazon and you would make heaps and heaps of money because nobody else was aware of this opportunity. You didn't have to differentiate it or brand it very well at all, but now it's a shark-infested water where everyone's competing over a small piece of pie and you have to be really creative in order to make money there. But what if I told you that that golden day opportunity was present here in Australia? Now, at the moment on the Australian marketplace, there are hardly any sellers compared to the number of buyers. There's lots of people on there who either one, have no idea what they're doing on the platform, or two, have just listed their product for sale there, but they actually have stock overseas. Therefore, it takes a longer shipping time in order for the product to get from there to the customer. So if you one, know what you're doing, and two, can get stock here in Australia, Amazon's of course gonna favor you because you have a better product and it can get to the customer quicker. Now, the reason that I love the Amazon FBA business model so much, and I've tried other physical product businesses as well as service businesses, but it's because Amazon takes care of so much of the process. They have the websites, they have the customers, they deal with the payment processing, the returns, they do the fulfillment, the shipping, they handle nearly everything. All you have to do is create a product and you get a check from them every 2 weeks. And what I've learned and I now do is that you can create your own brand. It's called private labeling, where you go out and you get a product made. It can either be overseas in China or India, or you can get it made here in Australia and you put your label on it and then it's yours. It's your brand and nobody else can compete with you on that product for that price. And then you have it made wherever you're getting it made and it gets shipped from there into the Amazon warehouse, so you don't even have to touch the product, right? Isn't that crazy? And I know because I used to run a service business. It was a social media marketing agency when I was first starting in the entrepreneurial world. And I know that when you have a service business and you get paid, you're either one, being paid directly for your time, or two, you're being paid for the time of someone that you have to manage or train and hire them. Whereas with FBA, when I get up in the morning or during the day, I can check my Amazon Seller Central app and I'll see the money that we've made and the products that are selling there, and it allows you to have that separation between your money and your time. And as I'm getting older now, like, that's what is more important to me. I want to be able to have more control, not so much over the money, but of my time. And in case, despite all of that of which Amazon does, you think like, oh, it might still be too tricky, like I don't know if I can do this, let me quickly share with you my story of how I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. Going back just under 4 years ago, I was actually studying to become a teacher, and I was a broke university student. And I'd never even thought about business or making money online or anything like that until one day I was actually driving home from a friend's going away party, and it had been a late night, so I was super tired, and my friend was driving, and we were going on the highway, and then I was woken by this roar as this Ferrari F8 just sped past us like we weren't even moving despite going 100 kilometers an hour on the highway. And I saw it disappear off onto the horizon, and I sort of said out loud like, man, wouldn't it be so nice to have one of those cars? And my friend said, well, like, I'm sure if you work hard enough and save, you'll be able to afford one day. And I was kind of taken aback because, like, in my mind, I had it that these Ferraris, these cars cost millions and millions of dollars, and you sort of had to be born lucky in order to get one. And so I got out my phone and I looked up the cost, and I saw that it was about $400,000, which to me is still an insane amount of money for a car. But I kind of sat there and I thought out loud that once I graduated on my $80,000 a year teacher salary, that if I worked and didn't spend a single dollar, I saved everything, it would take me over 5 years just to get one of these cars. And there were people out there who had like 6 or 7 of them. And my friend was like, well, yeah. And I was like, no, not yeah. There are people out there who have 6 or 7 of them. How do they do this? And that was kind of the starting process for me, where I learned that there was a better way to make money, but I was still stuck in knowing where to go to start. And so I went out, and my first venture was actually, I started a social media marketing agency, of which it didn't last very long because, one, I felt like I was kind of scamming people, and so I wasn't really proud of what I was making. And two was I was horrible at the person-to-person sales side, so it didn't take very long for that business to completely close down. And then from there, I discovered e-commerce and drop shipping, of which I did have a little bit of success at the start, but I found that I didn't have much control over creating the brand, and I had to organize all the different shipment parts of it, of which sometimes it could take up to 3 months for a product to get to a customer. And then I had to deal with the customer service side, so I was always dealing with negative people, and I just wasn't enjoying what I was doing at all. And so eventually that business eroded away as well. And I was feeling super defeated, and it wasn't until I ran into a cousin of mine that I hadn't seen for a long time, and I'd learned that he'd also started an e-commerce business during the same time that I had. And I asked him if he'd been struggling with having to manage everything and deal with the customer service side. And to my surprise, he told me how his e-commerce business had been better than ever, and how he'd been utilizing people's trust in the billion-dollar Amazon brand to sell more products than he ever had before. And so after discussing with him, I went out and decided to start an Amazon business, of which my goal at the start was just to make an extra $1,000 a month to my income. I'd seen these people out there on the internet claiming that you could make $100,000 from the get-go, and I just knew that it was complete rubbish. And so I went out and learned, and I launched my first product, and I was actually able to get that product to $5,000 a month, which to me was crazy, right? Like, all the struggling that I'd had to eventually make $5,000 online, some of it which, whilst I was asleep, like, it was just absolutely crazy for me. And I had this insane moment where I sat down and I worked out how much I would have had to work at my job in order to make the same amount of money. And so I sat down and I sort of wrote it all out, and it was about 200 hours I would have had to work in order to make the same amount of money. Like, do you know how many groceries I would have had to scan and how many rewards cards I would have had to ask for? Like, it was just ridiculous. But it was all because I'd started this little Amazon business. Now, I know that some of you might be sitting there and being like that's cool, Lockie, but I kind of wanted to make like more than $5,000 a month. And look, I hear you, okay? And just remember that that $5,000 was at a 30% profit margin. So it was doing $1,500 a month profit and $18,000 a year in profit, which isn't too bad, right? But the thing was that now that I'd learned how to do it once, I then went into my second year and I launched another 2 products, which then brought me up to 3 products in total, and we were doing $4,500 profit per month and $54,000 in profit each year, which is pretty nice, right? Like, that's a little bit of a step up, and compared to what I had been making, it was incredible. And I sat down again and I worked out how many hours I would have had to work in order to make that same amount of money. And then I went into my 3rd year, and you sort of see where this is going now, right? So I now had a bit more experience, and I'd already launched 3 products. So then in that next year, I launched another 3 products, and we were able to bring it up to $9,000 profit per month. And that was $108,000 profit per year, okay? Which was crazy. That was in the 3-year span. We were able to bring it to 6 figures profit a year. So over that 3-year time span, I was able to launch 6 products, and that was with help only a quarter of the way through, right? Like imagine if I'd had a mentor from the start, how much quicker I would have achieved it and how much bigger it could have been. But doing it like that, does that sound kind of achievable to you? Yeah, right? Like 1 product in your 1st year, and then 2, and then 3, you see how easy it is to scale. And if I asked you, would you be willing to spend 3 years of learning and making mistakes when at the end of it, you had a business that made you 6 figures profit per year that you could do from anywhere in the world? What would you say? You'd obviously say yes, right? You take it in an instant. So that's what it does. It just takes a little bit of patience, being able to take advantage of this golden opportunity that is Amazon Australia at this present moment in time. Now, if you guys have listened to this and you've gone through and you think like, this sounds fantastic, but like it was so much information and I don't know where to start, I totally get you. Down in the description below, we have the access to our Amazon Australia University. You can go in there and we teach you the entire process from setting up your company to finding products and how to build the brands, manufacture them, list them, ship them, and then sell them on Amazon. It's every single step. And we even now have content in there that teaches you how to sell your company in the future. So it's all in there for you. And then there's gonna be a little playlist that's gonna come up here or here. That is my playlist of all my videos that shows you how to launch a product from scratch. So you can also start there as well. But I'm so proud of you guys for taking this step and starting to learn more about different ways that you can make money here in Australia. And remember, you're only 1 product away from living the life of your dreams. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.